Hey, it's Vaz here from Aussie RC Playground and welcome to another unboxing. Today I have something very exciting to show you. It is the new ARRMA Kraton 4S. This one has a really, I think it's going to change the game a little bit because cars usually of this size and price point don't run 4S. Now, that being said, it's still only 50 plus miles an hour with the current setup. You might think, well, if it's 10 scale and it's supposed to be running 4S, shouldn't it be a little bit quicker? Yes and no, because what ARRMA I think have done is they've gone for something that's a little bit torquier. They've also given us a lot of tough components in here, something that can be a little bit more for the hardcore basher in this type of scale. And I'm very curious to see how these cars are actually going to hold up over time and what combinations people are going to be changing these out with, kind of morphing the 3S versions with some of the components from these types of cars. Of course, there is also an Outcast version at the moment that is also 4S capable. I got my hands on the Kraton. I'm super pumped because this kind of sits like, to be honest, the size of this is more like a 1/9 scale. It sits somewhere between the Granite 3S and the Kraton 6S. So yeah, I think this is going to be really interesting to run this car. It looks absolutely amazing. Obviously the styling of the body is very similar to the current Kraton 6S V4 that I unboxed not too long ago. Yeah, the tires are basically a direct copy of the V2 and V3 Kraton 6S cars, but these are a slightly smaller diameter, and I'll show you guys some side-by-side photos of this car next to the other two cars, the Granite and the Kraton, as well as these tires next to the Granite and Kraton 6S tires, just to give you a bit of an idea of scale of where this sits. Anyway, there is a lot to go through here because there's a lot of changes and improvements that ARRMA have done to this 3S platform to be able to handle the 4S and of course to be able to make it the size of a Kraton and what a Kraton should be in this scale. So without further ado, let's get rid of that box and let's have a look at the car. So we have our STX2 radio. You guys already know how I feel about this radio. I'm just going to pop it over there out of shot. Because that's going to get swapped out pretty much straight away. There is a bind plug included in case you need to rebind your radio for whatever reason. And of course we have some instruction manual in here. We have a couple of tools. There's also some preload spaces for your shocks, and they give you some stickers, which is kind of cool. I'll definitely be using some of these. And yeah, everything, all the information that you need to work on this car is going to be in your user manual. Make sure you go through that. It's a nice little bedtime reading there. So here is the car itself. Love the color of the body, by the way, and the styling and everything. It looks fantastic. It's essentially just a smaller version of the bigger one, as far as I could tell. There are some slight little differences in the nose and things like that because it's a bit smaller, but the overall styling is very much the same. And I'll bring this up close to the camera so you can have a look. But there it is there. There are a lot of things that we need to talk about. There is a new spoiler on this as well. Comes with the wheelie bar straight out of the box. Love that. I think the wheelie bar is fantastic on a car like this. There are two things that I noticed about my particular version that I want to put towards ARRMA to see what the outcome is going to be in future releases. These are the only two things, just by first impressions. Obviously I haven't driven the car or don't know too much about it, so we'll see what happens as we go through this. First things first, let's take the body off. Now, there is an additional feature on this body that you may have already picked up on by now, as I try to get this body pin out of here. And that's these two little screws kind of on the front just here. These are body post protectors. So if you do roll over, the body is likely to kind of skid on here. Not only does that protect the body from getting scratched up, but it also protects your body posts from grinding all the way to nothing on tarmac or any sort of hard surface. So good on ARRMA for this one. I really like this idea, and they're a universal type of little mount, so you can probably buy some of these as spares and put them on some of your other bodies to protect your body posts. I think that's a really cool feature. Well done. That's a smart idea, and it's one of those things where it's like, why didn't I think of that before? So yeah, very, very cool. Stickers on this one are actually applied pretty right. No bubbles on this one. And the body actually feels extra thick. So really nice, tough body on this one. I think this is going to last quite a long time. Very, very impressed. Of course, you got the the stickers on the inside as well to prevent it from rubbing when it's rubbing against the body posts and the chassis and all that sort of thing. And of course, here is the car itself. Now the chassis itself, as I said, is off the 3S platform. So this is the same chassis as you'll find in the Senton 3S as well as the Typhon 3S. I don't think there's any other cars that share this chassis at the moment in the 3S lineup. So that's the same size, so same wheelbase. But what they've done here, of course, is they've given us wider arms. You've got adjustable turnbuckles and toe links on the front, adjustable turnbuckles on the rear as well. Check out the size of these 16mm big bore shocks, and I'll give you a size comparison between these shocks and the ones on my Senton, for example, or even my Typhon, to give you a bit of an idea of how much bigger these are. These are also rocking 4mm shock shafts, not 3mm as found on the 3S platforms. Of course, one of the standout features that you can probably see on this chassis is tower-to-tower brace. So with the additional extra weight that you're going to have in this car with the 4S battery, ARRMA have given us a tower-to-tower brace to try and keep that chassis as straight as possible, so that when you do big landings and everything like that, all that weight is not going to put undue stress on the chassis and cause some damage down the line. The motor is also a different motor from the 3S lineup. This is a 3668 2400 kV brushless motor, and of course it has the built-in fan on top of the heatsink as well. Heatsink does come on the 3S vehicles, but here they've added an additional fan to keep things cool. I can see a couple of aluminium pieces on here. Well, this is one on the back through to the for the drive shaft that I hadn't noticed on the 3S vehicles. So that's something that's new as well. You've got adjustable body posts front and rear. Great. So for those of us who perhaps want to change out the body to something else and start customizing later on down the line, you have that already implemented in there, so you can of course adjust to your heart's content. We have the BLX 120 ESC. I beg your pardon, it is a 120 ESC, and you'll notice that this actually comes with an extra cap pack already soldered on to the battery cables. Now, interesting thing, these are coming with the EC5 connectors, not the IC5 connectors. So that's I don't know if maybe these were sort of pre-done prior to the to the V4s. I don't know, because the V4s are all coming with IC5, so these are EC5s. And the other thing that's interesting, they're giving us 2 plugs on these cars, presuming that we're either going to be, well, we're going to be running 2 2S batteries, but they don't have a loop to, well, this mine didn't come with a loop to close off one of the plugs if you want to just run one 3S or one 4S. Now for me, that just neither here nor there, because I usually cut these plugs off anyway. I run XT150s, which I'll be doing in this car to run the 3S, and the 4S I'll be using XT150s because that's just my connectors. But of course you can chop these out and put in whatever connectors you want as well, or you can use them. The EC5s or IC5 connectors, they're 5mm bullets, more than enough for most people. But yeah, I'm a little bit puzzled that they've given us 2 plugs. They should have just given us 1, to be honest. And then people can get their own little series connector later on to plug 2 batteries in if that's what they want to do. Or if they're going to do this, they should have given us a loop to close that off. That's just my 2 cents worth for what it's worth. Just a quick note as well on this chassis brace. Very easily removable with 2 screws. There's one at the top here and one there. You remove those 2 screws. There's a little bar that holds everything in place. You slide that out and bang, your tower-to-tower brace gets removed fairly quickly. So really nice to see that. The wing looks fantastic, by the way. Pre-existing wing mount from the Typhon, I believe. The wheelie bar is straight out of the Big Rock crew cab. Actually, that's another car that shares this chassis, is the Big Rock crew cab. I've just remembered that now. So that comes with the wheelie bar, and so there's this. And of course that Big Rock also comes with these little sort of mud flaps here to stop debris from getting into the chassis. So very, very nice. The drive shafts on these have been redesigned slightly, and they're using a slightly different plastic as well, so they should be a lot stronger. The hubs on this have also been redesigned, and they've been beefed up to handle more impacts, to handle more abuse, and of course you're going to be running on 4S, so they are designed to be a little bit tougher. It does run 17mm hubs for the wheels. However, and this is one of the things that kind of concerns me a little bit, is that they've gone with like a standard sort of like wheel nut. These are kind of reminiscent of what you'd find on the HPI Savage from back in the day. Now I did quiz ARRMA on this and say, you know, how come you've gone for this? I mean, you've got 17mm wheel nuts on the Typhon already. Why not just implement it in here? And it, to be honest, it really just came down to cost. To be able to keep this truck at a $399 US price point, that is why they've gone with that. Now, if they've done these nuts correctly, and you're using a proper tool to get them out, then you shouldn't strip them. But I know history will show, and I know this for a fact, that with the HPI Savage, a lot of people will try to undo these nuts and they'll strip because they'll be super tight on there. And then because there's very little flat surface for your tool to actually grab onto, and you're putting so much torque on there that you can actually strip them. So my advice to you is, if you want to change these wheels, they're running just 17mm hex here, so you can put any 17mm hex wheel on this as long as it's proportional. You can't like put 3.8-inch big trenches on here. It's going to look out of whack. You're going to put a lot of strain on that servo as well. You're going to add extra weight to the truck. Probably not ideal. But like a 2.8-inch Proline Max 28 Badlands with a 17mm hub, I think will be a perfect fit. They'll actually be a little bit smaller than these, but they'll give you that really sort of motocrossy traction. Like if you're running in some really muddy terrain, that would actually work quite well. So when taking off these little wheel nuts, just make sure you use a proper tool, take your time, and try not to strip them. That's the best advice that I can give you. Of course, you can always take them off and implement the upgrade that is found on the Typhon with the 17mm wheel nuts, but of course that's going to require you to buy those additional parts. Other than that, what else can I tell you about this particular Kraton that I haven't told you already? We got the chassis brace, we got waterproof electrics all the way through, of course. We have the battery tray, has 2 battery straps, pretty straightforward. There are 2 little tabs, one at the back here and one at the front. These can be removable by 2 screws underneath, so one at this end, one at this end, and you can lengthen that battery tray. And you can also use those tabs to kind of position the battery and give you different weight bias. So if you want something a little bit more nose heavy or a little bit more tail heavy, you can position the battery accordingly. You can probably remove the little foam pad that's on the actual chassis here, put a strip of Velcro, and that will stop the battery from sliding backwards and forwards inside the tray. So that's a nice little tip there for you. Bit of Velcro on the battery, Velcro on the truck. When you strap it down, and you got the battery straps on there, that battery ain't moving forwards or backwards. It's going to stay exactly where it is. So metal gear diffs. This is the other thing that it also comes with. It has a metal spur gear. So very, very cool that it has that included in this truck. I can see a lot of people upgrading their 3S platforms with that particular metal spur gear. I can't remember if it is a 48 pitch or not. I will be checking that. It may be a mod 1. But whichever one, I'll put it up on the screen for you guys to see. I think that pretty much covers it as far as I could tell. I mean, these shock rod ends look super beefy. I'm really impressed with what ARRMA have done here. The arms look nice and strong, obviously a lot longer than normal. As I said, you got that those upgraded drive shafts on these, upgraded hubs, beefy shocks on this guy as well. So for those of you who are probably a little bit concerned about these shocks, no doubt you can just go and swap them out for the 1/8 scale shocks. They'll fit straight on here. As a matter of fact, I've seen quite a number of people swap out the 3S shocks to the 1/8 scale shocks for those guys out there that like to go hard and don't want to worry about breaking shock caps and things like that. So I'm pretty sure that's going to be available for you. And that is pretty much everything that I can sort of think of at the moment. No doubt I'll probably turn the camera off and think, damn it, I forgot to mention that. But you know, I may leave something in the video description of this video if in case I've missed anything. There'll also be a link in there to the ARRMA website, so you can go and check out some of the information on that website and you know, fill in any gaps that I may have left here. If you have any questions about this particular platform, please be sure to leave it in the comment section down below. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new and hit that little notification bell so you are up to date with all the new videos that I've got coming up. I'm still yet to show you the running video of the Kraton 6S as of the time of filming this. I wasn't expecting to get this today because I was planning on releasing the running video of that car in the next couple of days, but now this has turned up. I have to film this. I'm going to be postponing that running video. We are all going to want to see what this can do as well, and no doubt I'll probably put this versus that in RC Race Wars at some point later down the line, which will be really interesting. So imagine a Kraton 4S versus a Kraton 6S. Both of them on 4S I think would be pretty fair. Maybe, we'll see. And then I can do the Typhon 3S versus the Typhon 6S. And yeah, this will make it really, really interesting. I think we're in for a very good year ahead with some of these ARRMA releases. And also, I'm pretty pumped to get some new content and some fresh content out to you guys. So please be sure to subscribe. Check out my social media links in the video description. All the ARRMA links. Anything else that I'll put in there. Thank you all very much for watching. And I'll be speaking to you all next time.